Hello again, everyone. This is Chris Sciria, and that's Robert Hardy, and this is the Citizen Sports Weekly, and we're doing it early this week. This is a Monday one. Gotta look at my watch here. Wow, it's Monday, and it is February 2nd, 2015.
Groundhog Day.
We felt that last night's game was so amazing that we had to start talking about it as quickly as possible.
While it's fresh.
While it's fresh.
That's right.
So we have a hot and fresh Citizen Sports Weekly for you.
Hot and ready.
But before we get to the game, we're going to recap our picks. Both of us picked the Seahawks. Unfortunately, they let us down. I still won the contest between Robert and me. I give Robert credit for not, picking the Patriots just because I picked the Seahawks and beating me. But still, it was a very spirited competition this year.
Gotta stick to my gun.
And I will say that Robert did a great job, and as always, it's fun competing against him. But that's over with now. So the game itself, and this was, I mean, I don't know where you put this on your Super Bowl of all time list. I think this definitely belongs in the top three.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Giants-Bills Super Bowl goes in there. That's number 25. I think the Steelers-Cardinals Super Bowl from a few years ago, that goes on the list too. So I'm sure there's some other ones there. I mean, obviously some of those Cowboys-Steelers Super Bowls of the late 70s were pretty good. So, like I said, it was a really good game, and obviously everybody's talking about the ending. Why did the Seahawks decide to throw the football on second and goal, literally from the half-yard line, instead of running Marshawn Lynch? And that is what's going to be discussed about this game years from now. When Robert and I are just dust in the wind, as the Kansas song goes, people will be talking about why did Pete Carroll decide to throw on second and goal when he's got one of the best running backs in the league in Marshawn Lynch and didn't run. So, and Robert and I were discussing this before we came in to record the video, is that Michael Silver of NFL.com did a text interview with Carroll last night. I think it kind of explains things a little bit better. And we'll go into some of those points, and then Robert, if you want to interrupt me, go ahead. But Carroll basically said that he felt that if he was going to run, if he was going to throw the ball on any of these downs, it was going to be second down. And he decided to do it that play because how much time was left. They had a timeout left, and he thought what his thinking process was is that A, no one's expecting you to throw. B, you're throwing a pass against a rookie cornerback, which when you think about it makes sense. I mean, if you're going to attack a quarterback or a defender on the Patriots, you're not going to go up against Revis or one of the more experienced defenders. You're going to go against a rookie. You're going to pick on a rookie. I mean, Brady did it to the Seahawks. Okay,
that's right.
And then the other thing is, look what the Seahawks did at the end of the first half. Everybody thought, kick the field goal. You got 6 seconds left. Why are you going for a touchdown? And well, look what happened. They scored a touchdown. So I guess you could say the football gods giveth, and then they taketh away. And this time they really tooketh away. So I can understand why he did that, but I'm going to make one more analogy. Remember the 96 World Series? If you're a Yankees fan, you do. Mm-hmm. I think it was Game 4 of the 96 World Series. The Braves had a 2-1 series lead. They were up 6-0, I believe, in the third or fourth inning against the Yankees. The Yankees looked like they were done. And the Yankees whittled it away, got to 6-3. It was the sixth or I think it was the seventh inning, and Jim Leyritz was up with 2 on, and I don't know how many outs there were, but it was 2. He was the tying run. And the relief pitcher for the Braves, I think it was Mark Wohlers, decided not to go with his best pitch. He decided to go with which was the fastball. He decided to go with a curveball. And Leyritz was expecting it maybe, and just blasted it out of the park for a home run. The Yankees tied it, and then of course won the game, won the series. So the point is I'm trying to make is, if you're going to go down with your best pitch. And obviously the Seahawks did not do that. I mean, the Seahawks, yes, everybody was expecting them to run. The Patriots were expecting them to run. They had their goal line defense in to stop the run. Maybe Marshawn Lynch doesn't get it on second down, okay? But if you're going to lose, you lose with your strength. You don't try to get away from that and get cutesy and everything, or try to be a little tricky there. In that situation, you put the hammer down. And unfortunately for the Seahawks, it cost them greatly. And, I know a lot of players were second-guessing in the locker room afterwards. You can understand that. I think the Seahawks will eventually get over this. I think, as the old saying goes, time heals all wounds. And I think this is a pretty nasty wound, but time will heal. I think Pete Carroll's record speaks for itself. So But I think that Michael Silver column on NFL.com that you can read really kind of shines some light on what Pete Carroll's thinking was when they called that play. Robert, what were your thoughts on it?
Well, a few points really. First of all, to kind of piggyback on what you've been saying, with that play, I can think of a few other plays that that would have worked. Earlier in the game, and I mentioned this to you before we started recording the video. The Seahawks had the ball deep in Patriots territory. I believe it was from the 3-yard line. They ran a play-action pass. It was out of an I formation, I believe. Play-action pass, and Russell Wilson threw a touchdown to Doug Baldwin. If you're going to pass in a situation like that, I think that formation is better. The Russell Wilson isn't a Tom Brady, isn't a Peyton Manning.
No, he's not a classic drop-back quarterback.
He's a good quarterback, but in that situation, I would rather have him either use his legs or have some sort of play action scenario where you can get a receiver open in the corner or in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. They did that earlier in the game with Doug Baldwin. They didn't do it on this slant route. Just as soon as they lined up, I was like, it'll be either a read option, it'll be a handoff to Marshawn Lynch. It was neither of those things. And once I saw that he was throwing, I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? Yeah. To Carroll's point after the game, it's really left more questions than answers. I think in a lot of ways. One is that if the thinking behind throwing the ball in that situation is that at worst it's a wasted play. Well, yeah, I guess, but at worst it's also an incompletion and a free timeout.
Yeah.
For New England. And yes, the clock was ticking. Yes, it was getting down to where New England wouldn't have had a lot of time left, but you're still giving them time if that's if that pass is incomplete. So it ended up being worse than that, the interception. But the third point here too is, and you alluded to this as well. While that play certainly was a defining play, I think what was worse for Seattle is the fact that you had a young cornerback get absolutely torched by Brady.
Yeah.
You had KJ Wright line up against Gronkowski on that touchdown. I mean, talk about a mismatch. I mentioned, we both talked about this on the video late last week. Cam Chancellor on Gronkowski, what a matchup that's going to be. Well, Chancellor wasn't on Gronkowski then, and the Patriots made them pay.
And Gronkowski really wasn't a huge factor in this game.
No, that touchdown was
it.
Was really probably the biggest play he made all game, and he had a decent stat line, 6 grabs for 68 yards, but certainly not anything that was out of this world. So you look at all these pieces, and certainly that play was a big moment, but you look at what happened on defense, and it really brings to mind something I read today as well, that when Chris Matthews was having success against the Patriots secretary, Brandon Browner asked to be put on Chris Matthews. Now, did you see Richard Sherman going over and saying, I'll cover Julian Edelman when Edelman was torching the Seahawks defense? Did you see Maxwell say it? Did you see Chancellor go over and say to KJ Wright, take someone else, I'm taking Gronk? No. And, really when you look at it, yes, that play was the biggest play of the game and it was a bad play call, but the decisions made on defense in those situations, Seattle, if you have this great secondary, why weren't they matched up against the Patriots' best receivers? Why weren't they matched up against Edelman, Amendola, and Gronkowski?
And that's another good point. I mean, the Seahawks defense, everybody said is an elite defense, great defense. I've said it. Robert said it. But something? They had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and look what happened.
Yeah.
They gave up 2 touchdowns. If you're an elite defense, if you're that good, you shut them down. You get pressure on Brady. And I give the Patriots credit. It was all quick, short passes. Brady, he only attempted going deep a couple times, and he never completed any of them. It was all dink and dunk stuff, okay? And the running game wasn't that great for the Patriots either. It was all Brady. Brady definitely earned the MVP, but it was all short passes. And, I was trying to think, how do you defend against these short passes? I couldn't come up with anything off the top of my head during the game. So, the thing is, the Seahawks had a chance on defense to make some plays, and they didn't get it done. So let's not put all the blame on the offensive coordinator or Pete Carroll or Russell Wilson, okay, or the wide receiver who, I guess was said that he could have fought for the ball a little harder. Let's not get into that. Ultimately, their defense did not play well in the fourth quarter. And Robert and I think we both know one thing. A football game is never determined on one play. Okay, even if the winning points or the turnover comes on one play, there's some other things that happened before that also played a role to set that up or to let that happen. So it's never just one play that determines a game. It's usually a few plays here and there that you could point to and say, yeah, that didn't help them. Yeah, that didn't help them. I mean, there was another, I think it was either in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, Seahawks, they had the lead and they're going deep again. And I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. I mean, I understand that you want to maybe take a shot, but to me it's like in the third and fourth quarters, or especially in the fourth quarter, clock is so important that maybe you might want to do some shorter passes to take time off the clock. Getting first downs is important. I'm not saying that you just want to run the ball but when you go deep like that, lower percentage pass plays, it really hurts you. And I was just surprised, I hope this doesn't come back to haunt them, and sure enough, it did.
Yeah, to your point, one of the interesting things in going back and kind of looking at the play-by-play and the drive summary of the game is that if you look at before that last drive that Seattle had, they had the ball 2 other times in the fourth quarter, and they were 3 and outs.
Yeah.
And they were in a situation where they had that 10-point lead, and they couldn't get anything going. They gave the ball back to New England, and New England took advantage of it twice.
Yeah.
And they made Seattle pay, and that in itself is really a difference in the game too. That you have a situation where you can either run off some clock, or at points
Right.
put up more points, and they did neither of those things. They end up 3 and out, punt it away. New England drives down the field.
I mean, you got to give Bill Belichick and the Patriots all the credit in the world because, again, they were down by 10 in the fourth quarter and came back and scored 2 touchdowns and then made a great defensive play at the end of the game. So, I mean, something they deserve to win. I don't think you can say that the Seahawks were not a worthy opponent. I mean, this was a pick'em game, basically. And that's really what it ended up being, a pick'em game. And it was the over, by the way. So that was interesting too, because everybody thought it was going to be a real low-scoring game, and it looked that way because it was a scoreless first quarter, and then we had 14-14 at the half, I think.
Yeah.
No, it was yeah. So like I said, it was a great game. I don't think you could ask for any more as a football fan. And if you're a Seahawks fan, and I do know some Seahawks fans, and I know they're hurting right now, but something, you guys did win last year, okay? I mean, yeah, it hurts to lose that way. But, you do have last year's Lombardi Trophy, and that can't be taken away from you. For the Patriots, I'll tell you, I hear all the, cheat gate or deflate gate and spy gate and everything. And I mean, as a Dolphins fan, I'm jealous, man. And he's a Bills fan. I'm sure you'd be the first to admit that you're a little jealous, too, that.
I'm actually not jealous.
You're not jealous? Not all that success. 15 years of dominating the division.
It's great. Bills had their time in the 90s,
They
they didn't win any Super Bowls, but hey, they went to the game 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And no one can take that away from them.
Yeah.
And no one can take away this stretch for New England. And, I mean, the reality is that when Brady leaves and Belichick leaves, maybe they will be left in good hands. Maybe they won't. You never know what the situation is.
Brady says he wants to play for another 10 years.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He'll be like Steve DeBerg.
I mean, the thing is, if he takes, look, the reason why quarterbacks usually have to leave the game is not their arm, it's their legs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what kills them all. And, Brady had that serious knee injury in 2008, and he's recovered from it, obviously. But, that's the biggest thing is your legs. Now, we'll see what happens, but obviously the guy's arm, is not that bad. So, and then Belichick, he's 63 years old. What else is this guy going to do? I mean, I can't see him retiring. I could see him coaching another 10 years easily.
It's possible.
I mean, he doesn't need the money. He can do whatever he wants. It's not like he's ever got to worry about getting fired or anything. I mean, this is all gravy. He can just keep going as long as he wants. Although I have a hunch that after Brady retires, that might be the sign for Bill to say, yeah, something. It's a nice little way to wrap things up. We'll see what happens. So, anything else about the game that you want to add, Robert?
No, I think we covered it.